Hello IntelliScientist, welcome to Alan IntelliBrain. In this video, we will acquire the knowledge of symmetry lines, reflection image and order of rotational symmetry with the help of an engaging Intelli activity. From our IntelliSmart box, take out the two parts of geoboard, 4 side stands, 2 central stands, symmetry cards, activity kit, box full of board pins and coordinate geometry tag sheet. Symmetrical lines are mostly used to understand the reflection of trees in clean water, reflection of mountains in a lake. Take out the symmetry cards from the symmetry card sheet. Now observe this shape, pick this card and start performing the activity. Let us observe these 5 dotted lines across the symmetry card. If we fold the symmetry cards along these dotted lines, the shape will always be divided into 2 parts. Now the question is whether those parts are equal or unequal. First, fold the shape along the dotted line 1. As the form parts are overlapping, this shows that the shape is symmetric along this dotted line 1. Now, fold the shape along the dotted line 2. As the form parts are overlapping, this shows that the shape is symmetric along the dotted line 2. Then fold the shape along the dotted line 3. As the form parts are overlapping, this shows that the shape is symmetric along the dotted line 3. Similarly, we will fold the shape along the dotted line 4. You can see the form parts are overlapping. This shows that the shape is symmetric along the dotted line 4. And finally, fold the shape along the dotted line 5. As you can see, the 2 form parts are not overlapping. This shows that the shape is not symmetrical along the dotted line 5. Now, as you can see, the shape is symmetric along these lines 1, 2, 3 and 4, but not symmetric along the line 5. In the similar manner, you can perform this activity for other symmetry cards. Also, you can create some figures and try to find out their symmetrical lines. Reflection symmetry is widely used in real life, such as in art, textile industry, interior designing, etc. In order to perform this activity, take out the 2 parts of geoboard along with its 4 side stands, 2 central stands and symmetry tag and IntelliBrain tag from the activity kit. First of all, assemble the geoboard as done for the activity of coordinate geometry and place it over a flat surface. Now put the IntelliBrain logo and insert it on the top left corner and symmetry tag on the right top corner like this. Now keep the geoboard on one side. Now take out the alphabet tags from the coordinate geometry tag sheet, 7 board pins and a spool of thread from the box of board pins. Now observe the shape as shown here. The coordinates of the corner of the figure are given. We will start plotting the corner of the figure on the geoboard by inserting the alphabet text on the certain coordinates with the help of board pins. Fix the alphabet P at -2, 3. Similarly, put the alphabet Q at -4, 0 alphabet R at -2, -3, and similarly put the alphabet S at the origin, that is at 0, 0. Now cut the spool of thread into two equal pieces. Fold one of them over the pin at point P, followed by the point Q, then at point R, then at point S, and then finally again at point P. At this point, we can clearly see the original image as shown here. Now we will start locating the reflected image, but before this, let us understand what a reflected image is. An image that appears almost identical as the original image but in the opposite direction from the line of symmetry. Please note, here we are assuming our y-axis is the line of symmetry. In order to obtain it, we need to start plotting the corresponding reflected points of the corner points of the original image. Let's find the reflected point for the point P. Here, the coordinates of point P are -2, 3. Now, when we assume that y-axis is the line of symmetry, in order to find out the reflected coordinates of a point, its y-coordinate remains the same, but the sign of x coordinates will reverse. Therefore, the reflected coordinates of point P are 2, 3. So, we will insert a pin at the position of 2, 3. Now, the coordinates of point Q are -4, 0. So, the reflected point is 4, 0. Because we are holding the y coordinate, that is 0, as same, but the sign of x coordinate is reversing from -4 to +4. So, we will insert a board pin at point 4, 0. Similarly, the reflected coordinates of the point R, which is at -2, -3, will be 2, -3. So, we will insert a board pin at 2, -3, and the reflected point of the point S will remains at the same position because the y coordinate and the x coordinate is 0, 0. Now, take the other half of thread and fold it over the reflected point of point P, then at the reflected point of point Q, then at the reflected point of point R, then the reflected point of point S, which is same, and finally at the reflected point of point P. At this point, we can clearly see the reflected image of the original image that we have considered in the beginning, while holding the y-axis is the line of symmetry. In the similar manner, you can perform this activity for other shapes by yourself while considering the y-axis as a line of symmetry, or maybe the x-axis as the line of symmetry by using IntelliSmart Box. Symmetry is a fundamental part of geometry, nature and shapes. Order of symmetry helps us to create patterns and organize our world conceptually. Take the assembled geoboard, symmetry cutouts and board pins. Now observe this shape as shown here. Pick this symmetry cutout from the sheet of symmetry cutout and start performing the activity. Place the symmetry cutout at the center of geoboard by inserting it with board pin. Order of symmetry states how many times a figure can be rotated and still remain symmetrical to the original image throughout a complete rotation. Now we will start rotating the symmetry cutout by various angles and observe if it remains symmetrical or not. First, rotate the symmetry cutout by 90 degree and observe the obtained figure. As you can clearly see, it is not same as the original figure, thus this angle does not make the symmetrical figure. Please be informed that it is not compulsory to always rotate the cutout as the multiple of 90. You can also rotate it by 10 degrees, 40 degrees based on the shape of cutout. Now again rotate the symmetry cutout by 90 degree and observe the obtained figure. Please note that the figure is now at 180 degree, that is 90 plus 90. Here the form figure is same as the original image, thus this angle makes the symmetrical figure. Again rotate the symmetry cutout by 90 degree and observe the obtained figure. Please note, now the figure is at 270 degree, 90 plus 90 plus 90. Here the form figure is not same as the original one, thus this angle does not make the symmetrical figure. In the end, we will again rotate the symmetry cutout by 90 degree and observe the obtained figure. Please note, now the figure is at 360 degree, 90 plus 90 plus 90 and plus 90. Here the form figure is same as the original image, thus this angle makes the symmetrical figure. The cutout remains symmetrical twice during the complete rotation, so 2 is the order of rotational symmetry for this particular cutout. In the similar manner, you can perform the activity for other symmetry cutouts by yourself by using IntelliSmart Box. Also, you can create some other figures and find out their order of rotational symmetry. Hope you have enjoyed it. We are sure that after performing this activity, you will have gained the expertise in the following concepts: understanding and identifying the numbers of lines of symmetry, plotting the coordinates of original and reflected image and understanding the reflection symmetry, arranging, rotating and identifying the angle of rotation and understanding the order of rotational symmetry. Visualize maths with Allen IntelliBrain and fall in love with learning.